Class 8. Subject Social Studies, History. Lesson 2 From Trade to Territory. Part 1. Q1. How were the regional kingdoms set up after the death of Aurangzeb? Ans. After Aurangzeb's death in 1707, many Mughal governors, Subadars, and big zamindars began asserting their authority and establishing regional kingdoms. Q2. When did the East India Company acquire a charter from the England ruler? What did this mean? Ans. In 1600, the East India Company acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I, granting it the sole right to trade with the East. This meant that no other trading group in England could compete with the East India Company. With this charter, the company could venture across the oceans, looking for new lands from which it could buy goods at a cheap price, and carry them back to Europe to sell at higher prices. Q3. How could mercantile company make profit? Ans. Mercantile trading companies in those days made profit primarily by trading. They would buy goods at cheap rates and sell them at higher prices. Q4. What did the competition among the companies result in? Ans. Competition resulted in the rise of the prices at which these goods could be purchased. This reduced the profits of the companies. Q5. Write about British growth in trade and influence in India. Ans. The first English factory was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly in 1651. The factory had a warehouse from where the factors, companies' traders, operated. They persuaded merchants and traders to come and settle near the factory and then gradually starting fortifying by 1969. They bribed Mughal officials into giving the companies mindari rights over 3 villages. They got the right to free trade only for British and pressed for more concessions. Q6. How did trade leads to battles? Ans. After the death of Aurangzeb, Murshid Quli Khan, Alivardi Khan and Sijuddaulah proved to be strong rulers. They refused to grant the company concessions, denied it any right to mint coins, and stopped it from extending its fortifications. They claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government of huge amounts of revenue. The company refused to pay taxes, wrote disrespectful letters, and tried to humiliate the Nawab and his officials. Company realized that trade could flourish only if the duties were removed. The conflicts led to confrontations and finally culminated in the famous Battle of Plassey. Q7. What was the earliest name of the present-day Kolkata? Ans. Kalikta. Q8. What was Farman? Ans. Farman was a royal order. Q9. Who was called Tiger of Mysore? Ans. Tipu Sultan was called Tiger of Mysore. Q10. When did the company take over Awadh? Ans. The company took over Awadh in 1856. Q11. What was the prime objective of East India Company? Ans. Its prime objective was the expansion of trade. Q12. Who was the ruler of England in 1600? Ans. Queen Elizabeth I was the ruler of England in 1600. Q13. Who was the last of the powerful Mughal rulers? Ans. Aurangzeb was the last of the powerful Mughal rulers. Q14. Who became the Nawab of Bengal after Alivardi Khan? Ans. Sijuddaulah became the Nawab of Bengal after Alivardi Khan. Q15. Who was made the Nawab of Bengal after the Battle of Plassey? Ans. Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal after the Battle of Plassey. Q16. Which Governor-General was impeached by British Parliament? Ans. Warren Hastings was impeached by British Parliament. Q17. Who led the company's army against Siraj-ud-Daulah at Plassey? Ans. Robert Clive led the company's army against Siraj-ud-Daulah at Plassey. Q18. Who arrested Bahadur Shah Zafar and his sons? Ans. Bahadur Shah Zafar and his sons were arrested by Captain Hodson. Q19. Who was assassinated after the Battle of Plassey? Ans. After the defeat at Plassey, Siraj-ud-Daulah was assassinated. Q20. Who discovered the sea route to India? Ans. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, had discovered the sea route to India in 1498.